Just trying. Okay, there we go. Now I think you ought to be able to hear me a little bit better. Unless I'm very much mistaken. Hopefully that sorts that one out more or less. Just let me know. I'll just wait for a minute or two to see. Let you write in chat if you can hear me or not. Okay, it's a bit loud. Okay, so if we try something like that, then I'll just let me know as we go. I'll try to dial it as we go. But apologies. Good evening and welcome to the 15th and penultimate round of the HSO Kart 1988 Championship, coming to you tonight from Tamiami Park in Miami. As I was saying earlier, we are at Tamiami Park, so let's bring the track map up. As I said earlier, it's a 1.784 miles long or 2.871 k's long circuit, and we'll be going for 112 laps, which will barely scrape below 200 miles during the race. And this is of course also the championship decider in this championship, because if I bring the points up back where we were before, Thiago Canola leads the championship at 184 points. David Yates lays second on what will now be 179 points, because he took pole position just a few minutes ago, about 6-7 minutes ago, with a stonker of a lap, nearly 5/10th quicker than Thiago Canola, who I think was second last time I checked. Alberto will be able to tell me if that's different. David Junt is third in the points total though, on 122 points. Richard Wilkes lies fourth on 95, and Richard Coxon is in fifth place on 81. That's certainly true.
That would be an 8th position in the race. If Thiago doesn't finish, Jax would just need an 8th position to get the 5 points that he needs to be matched in points with Thiago, and thus get the championships thanks to having won more races. He also could do that if he gets the quickest lap and ends in 9th position. But I don't think that's something that we would ever see unless he crashes and then does repairs and returns to the track or something like that. So the most important thing right now is to pay attention to what happens in the track, because as you know, of course, Thiago has the best position in that he depends on himself alone. But you can say the same thing about David Jax if he manages to stay in the lead and do the quickest lap of the race. But we'll try to update live as the race progresses how the situation is and who is the championship at each point of the race.
That's certainly true, and a slight apology, Alberto. I was struggling with the sound, so the broadcast heard only the last half of what you said, but we'll, as you say, go through it again as the race goes on and refine that situation as we go.
So to sum up, just in case it was missed in the broadcast before, if Thiago wins the race or finishes ahead of David Jacks, no matter the position, he would be the champion. For David Jacks to win the champion, he needs to win the race, but also to score the pole position he has already, to score the quickest lap in the race. And in that case, even if Thiago finishes second, he would be the champion. The rest of situations we will be updating, but typically if Thiago doesn't finish, then David Jacks would need to be at least in 7th position in the race to score enough points to get the championship, or one position down to that if he also manages to get the quickest lap. So we're about to go into the race session any moment. They are already on the grid.
Yep, and on pole, as mentioned earlier, we have David Jakes, who with that is 5 points behind Thiago, as Alberto has mentioned, I have mentioned. Second on the grid is Thiago Canola, who, as Alberto also mentioned, needs to finish ahead of David to be able to take the championship, or for David to not lead the most amount of laps. Cesarius Slapinski, a one-off drive for Team Penske, lines up third. I think he was a few thousands or a few hundreds behind Thiago. David Junt lines up fourth with Brian Yannick fifth. Grant Riddle is sixth with Jason Whited seventh. David Saber lines up eighth, and Adam Hackman is ninth with Ray Riddle rounding out the top 10. Mick Chapman lines up 11th with Richard Wilkes 12th. Raul Jereb is 13th with Jan Kowalski 14th. 15th for Gerard Rion and 16th for Jason Fitch. Bruno Chacon is 17th with Simon Watman in a one-off drive for True Sports in 18th. And final position on the grid is Mathieu Leclerc in 19th.
So yeah, that's basically the other point at stake. That's the most laps left. We have that one and the quickest lap of the race still to be decided, but because of the point system that shouldn't be too much of a factor unless Thiago Canola doesn't end the race. In which case David Jacks would need to score as high as possible and score as many points as possible. So pace cars going in, and they will be quickly accelerating now for the green flag, which should be coming when they are about halfway through the straight. David Jacks taking it easy.
And the green flag is out and we are on the way, and David Yates takes the lead going into turn 1 with Thiago right up in behind him. You can see that I think that was
already making a move on Cesarius Lapinski, and I think we shouldn't be too worried about the leaders by now. David Jacks has a quicker car and seems to be right now quite focused in the season, and I don't think Thiago Canola is going to do any risky things. So I think most of the action that we will be seeing in this race, at least for starters, will be right behind them.
Oh, you say that, but David Junt is right up behind Thiago at the moment.
Yeah, I mean not Thiago against David, but the most action we will be seeing there between David Jones, Cesarius Lapinski, and all the people that know that they can now try to get a good result to end the season, because both Thiago and David Jacks are not going to take any risk at all.
Very much so. Always looks like I had a little bit more of that. We're back going. Oh, and Slapinski really deep.
But overall the field is already spreading out nicely, with this sneaking track around the Tamiami Park in Miami. David Jacks is stretching now his lead, and Thiago Canola hasn't it any easy because of David Jung putting some pressure on him. David Jung certainly wants to slot in the middle of both.
I think David wants another win in this championship, looking at how he's going at the moment. He's really in close behind him here. Well, I thought he'd have a look then, but decided against it. Of course, we don't want any ill faith to fall to either.
Permanent damage there.
Kowalski with a bit of a moment in behind. He's currently in 10th now and looking for a move on Ray Riddle. Then we have another group behind them with Richard Wilkes leading that one. Holy Red following him. And it looks like, just like at these kind of tracks, this is of course using roads at a park. You sort of get battle groups through most of the field. Oh, it's Adam Hackman is in the pits with damage.
Yeah, he hit the wall some turns earlier, coming out of the penultimate turn.
Yeah, he was actually coming out of. Looks like that was it out of the first turn, but I could of course be wrong. Anyway, now 2 seconds to lead for David Yates over Thiago Canola. David is flying at Canola! Oh wow, he's wide!
He breezes the wall, but I don't think there was any damage there, but he needs to get back to position.
Oh dear me, Grant's up the inside as well. So Thiago in the space of 3 turns drops from 2nd to 5th.
Now he would not win the championship, but he needs to keep his head cool, because in this situation it was just a slight error and he just needs to stay focused, because he had the pace. He should certainly be able to get back to that position he had earlier.
That's certainly true, but that's enough. That would be enough to unravel most people. But we'll see how headstrong Thiago is.
Anything can happen in these races, especially in this tight track. You see now John Lapinski and Grant Ridal, they are close together, but they are fighting with each other, so let's wait and see for a bit. Meanwhile, Thiago's main concern is not falling into the clutches of Jason Whited and Brian Jennings.
So Thiago's a little bit slow in the chicane there, and now Jason Whited is a little bit wide. Yannick right behind him, as you mentioned as well. Oh, Yannick on the grass! Oh, wow!
He saved it finally.
Yeah, that was really close.
This gave Thiago a bit of a breathing room that he will appreciate.
Oh, for sure, but that was just barely on the grass.
Look at Cesarius Lapinski there, almost losing it in the ultimate, in the last turn, and he hit the wall smoothly sideways, but let's see if his car has any damage, because the Grant Riddle is already attacking him.
Well, looks like...
And Thiago Canola is back there with both of them. So as you see, things are not always as easy as they seem.
No, for sure they are not. It's certainly going to be a long, grueling evening. I know in terms of fuel strategy, we will be seeing 3 stops for everyone. Oh, Slapinski is off!
He had damage, and this means that he's retiring now. Or at least, well, he has a crippled car. I'm not sure
when he makes more contact with the wall.
Will be able to do with it. Yep. And this seems like a retirement unless he finds his way to the pits and for repairs. Some more cars are coming. He should be going really slow here.
Yeah, he's doing a great job staying out of the way.
Yep.
Yeah, hopefully he'll get the car repaired and back on the way.
Very dirty tires, so fortunately for him, he was close to the pit entry.
And unfortunately, Simon Watman is in there as well for repairs. Who is continuing? Yeah,
that's a bit strange.
That's an interesting choice for sure. We'll see whether that pays off or not. But David Yates now with 4 seconds to the goods on David Junt. He sure is doing everything he needs to do tonight. It looks like most of the field is actually spreading out. As you mentioned earlier, now it's even more spread out with at least the top 6 cars very spread out. And then there's a bit of a group with Saber, Ridol, Kowalski and Richard Wilkes. As we can see that Simon Watman, I think, was just exiting the pits. Gently getting back on the racing surface. So as Kowalski is running a little bit wide at turn 2. Who still tries to...
is finally in the pits for repairs.
Okie dokie.
So it's David Jacks in the lead with 5 seconds advantage. Then comes David Junt. Then is Grant Riddle 0.6 of a second behind. And right then behind him is Thiago. So in this situation that we are right now, it would be David Jacks who would clinch the championship. But David Junt is now under the threat of Grant Riddle. And anything can happen here if they start tangling wheels.
For sure it can, and there aren't much room for error. I mean, it looks like there's a lot of grass, but once you hit that grass, it's a very short trip to the walls around this place.
It is, yes, the grass is very slippery, so you quickly slide there into the wall.
Looks like Grant is definitely quicker than David, so let's see what happens here. Of course, this could also invite Thiago Canola to get either closer or by them, depending on what they get up to.
So this is certainly not a comfortable situation for David Junt to be in. Grant so antsy right behind him.
Well, knowing David, he won't get too riled up by having anyone behind him.
Yeah, he's not the one to bow under pressure. But all this is allowing Thiago to slowly catch up with them.
With Grant just a tad bit wide there. Half the tires on the grass, it looked like. That will obviously slow him down a little bit, and we can see here that David Yates' lead now is nearly 8 seconds as they enter the long straight onto the start and finish line. When Grant looking for the cutback here, let's see if we can get it down into the braking zone. He goes up the inside, David leaves him the space. And David, I thought he would try to hold on there, but drops back and lets Grant go. Maybe he's looking at Thiago getting closer and thinking, well, we better get going with this and try to pull away. I can see a little bit further behind, there's quite a close fight. Or at least it was. Between Saber and Kowalski, it's still fairly close, but it looked a lot closer on the timing screens just a moment ago.
And another number we should keep for reference in mind, I think that the quickest lap of the race as of now is 58.55 in the hands of Grant Riddle right now. Which means the point for the quickest lap in the race, for it to go to David Jacks, he would have to beat that time. At the moment he hasn't done it, he has the most laps led, so he has that extra point. But, and that means if Thiago would finish right behind him right now in second position, David would still win the championship, because he has only 5 points difference with Thiago. That would be 4 between first and second, and an extra point from the pole position and an extra point from the most laps led, which would tie them down in points, but also give the championship to David Jacks. So right now David has it very well for winning the championship, but there's still a lot of race to go on. We are only on lap 13 of 112. There are at least 2 pit stops to go, and anything can happen, and usually does.
Well, I'll just have a quick look at the rules thread, and there is no bonus points for fastest lap, but there is a bonus point for most race laps led, and that's the 1 point David is surely looking at and trying to go for here. At least from what I can see, there is no bonus points for fastest lap. I may be wrong. I'm fairly sure Jason will let us know in a moment if either of us is wrong, since he's around watching. It looks like the Ray Riddle is closed back up to David Saber in the meantime, and Richard Wilkes ain't far behind either, and both of them wants to get on with this fight. While we watch this fight, I'll just keep my second eye, so to speak, on the timing tables as Ray Riddle goes around and tries to go around outside with David Saber there. Surely that will never work. It certainly doesn't work there, but maybe it'll work further around this lap. Was Ray's slow off the chicane. Like we have
David Jacks is now coming to lap traffic, which is slowing him down a bit.
Yep, and that's also a fight for position between those two, so all very nicely gets out of the way there. Let's see, Jason Fitch does the same. Nicely done, boys. Good job. I know David prefers it when the lap traffic stays on the racing line and stays predictable, but I think he'll be thankful for that let by. Looks like Jason White may have made a tiny mistake somewhere. He runs a little bit deep into turn 1, but he is now in 6th. I think he was in 5th a little while ago. I could be wrong, but so far it looks like a fairly quiet race for Jason, 16 laps into it. Brian Yannick from the Detroit man, far down south for this race, but so far doing a good job in 5th. And it actually looks like for now that David Junt is able to pull a little bit of a gap on Thiago, unless Thiago made a mistake to drop back a little bit further. Now David Junt is in the middle of that duo fighting for 12th and 13th, and actually being slightly held up in the chicane, I think. But Fitch very nicely showing that I'll stay on the right side of the track if you go left, and there we go. And let's see how Thiago deals with this lapped traffic. Ooh. Looked like a tiny bit of miscommunication. There he goes, up the inside into turn 1. Lapping Lyon. And it looks like Brian Yannick has closed in a little bit on Thiago here. As Yannick throws the car up the inside into the chicane. Tries to chase after Thiago. 1.2 seconds difference at the moment. That's a rear wing. I believe that could be Simon Wattman's rear wing. It is, and Mick Chapman is retired as well. I wonder if those two got together.
They were running close together, yeah. But I don't know if there was any kind of accident there.
Can't seem to find Mick. But Simon was running after Mick retired. And okay. So Simon took a little bit too much curb in the last right-left before the what I'd call the penultimate turn. And unfortunately the car hooked up on the curbs and spat him off into the barriers. But David Yates still enjoying now an 8.5 second lead. If one could say enjoying that kind of lead when you know you have to stay there for at least another nearly 92 odd laps, I think that is, left in this race.
Yeah, certainly, because normally you would love racing, but in this situation what you really want is the race to be over as soon as possible.
Oh, for sure. Especially when the positive outcomes are so few.
Well, you know a bit about that, Jonatan, since you have just won the Touring Car Championship.
I did indeed this Wednesday. Thank you very much for reminding me about that. That makes me very happy. But I had a far wider spectrum of a positive outcome. The only thing I really needed to do was finish and score enough points to have an unassailable lead by the final round. Here is a question of if David Yates doesn't win, it'll take some bad luck or a lackluster race for Thiago for David to be able to take the championship.
Yeah, that's right.
So the amount of possible
moment,
positive
obviously
outcomes
David
are...
is in the best position to win the race, but well, it's a long race.
For sure it is, and now 7.5 seconds, so David looks like he's now more or less looking after his lead.
Yeah, and Thiago now has a different problem, which is Brian Yannick getting close to him.
That's indeed true, and right close behind him, that's 8/10 and well within drafting range, so if Brian gets a good exit here, and he does, so I assume unless Thiago has done his usual thing of running slightly lower wings, that Brian should be able to close in within the next couple of laps and give Thiago another run for his money.
It's It's quite weird because when you look at the incredible quick lap that Thiago did in the qualifying, you would think that he would have a bit more race pace. I'm a bit surprised about what I'm seeing right now because, well, we knew that David Jacks was obviously very quick, but the way that Grant and David John have been able to get away from Thiago is a bit surprising, probably considering the qualifying.
Well, possibly, but of course fuel makes a big difference in how the cars handle, and it's possible that Thiago's car doesn't like fuel, well, a lot of fuel in the car. That's why he's struggling a little bit at the moment.
Yeah, if he's running low wings, that could very well be the case, certainly. With low wings, you will get much more hurt by the high fuel load than you're running the higher ones.
Indeed. And I wonder, is that the same car that he ran at Laguna Seca in terms of the chassis?
I should check out because I know that his team is switching cars for several rounds. Let me check for a moment and I'll let you know.
Thank you. You can see here that Brian is staying within the 1 to 2 second range, but looks like Thiago's put his head down and trying to pull away again. Is being somewhat successful in that endeavor.
So yes, it's the same car that he drove at the previous round.
Okay, because I know afterwards he said, I didn't run low wings. So I assume that he is not running low wings, it's just the car, that chassis is being a little bit meh on quite the fuel. Or possibly Thiago just trying to take it a little bit easy very early on, increase the pace as the race goes on.
Yeah, or as Jason just pointed out in the broadcast chat, there was a bit of a small wall nudge by Thiago, and maybe that bent the suspension. And
oh, for sure. I forgot about that.
And yeah, and influenced it a bit in his pace. But hang on, because Thiago is now third again, because Grant Ridal has dropped to 5th position.
Oh, he has. Whatever happened there? I didn't notice that he dropped. I see he's already 5th there. He's
Probably had an out-track excursion at some point.
possibly. Let's try. Oh, it's actually. Oh, that's interesting. He's already been in the pits for at least a splash, I think that is. Just have a quick.
Maybe so. So Thiago needs now desperately to get rid of David John, to get hold of the 2nd position, to put some pressure at least to David Jacks. Though, even if he finishes 2nd right now, David Jacks has the points for most laps led, and also the pole position, which means they will be tied on points, and the championship will go to David Jacks, as things are right now. It's 25 laps, and of course 25 laps that David Jacks has led. But at some point he will have to stop for fuel, and then we will see what happens.
Certainly the case, and I am fairly sure that is a fuel stop for Grant. That's very interesting. That's very, very early.
That would very well explain his pace, because besides being a very quick driver, but his car obviously isn't the best one exactly, so...
Fair enough, but from what I've been told previously, the expected fuel range would be 37 to 40 laps if you want to make it on 3 stops, so in that case Grant may as well be full stopping in this race.
Yeah, that's right. No, maybe he had some issue in the car he was not happy with, so he decided to advance his pit stop and change a bit his strategy.
It's certainly a possibility. As Jan Kowalski now heads for the pits as well. Okay, so we are seeing some different fuel strategies and race strategies then with this. Because I believe Ray has now been into the pits as well. And Slapinski is back out running.
Yeah, Kowalski's coming out of the pits now.
Okay, let's see. Looks like he'll rejoin in 9th. A few seconds ahead of Raul, who's exiting turn 1 there. Ooh, and it looks like David Saber may have got a slightly bit held up in the what is technically the second to last turn then, but what I feel is the final turn with this sweeper. But let's actually take a lap on board with David Saber. So going into turn 1, a very, very long sweeping right-hander. Need to be careful with the wall on outside, as we saw with Thiago Canola, who grazed that. Turn 2 is this 90-degree left-hander. Then another more or less 90-degree right-hander onto the somewhat decent straight, then into the chicane. As David Saber gets blue flags, I believe that's David Yates right behind him now. Then it's a curved, long curved straight here, more or less full throttle. Then a dab on the brakes, down a gear and through that right-left combination, then into the second to last turn, this 90-degree right-hander, into the concrete canyon. Then this very, very quick right-hander onto the technically start-finish straight.
Yes, depending on the setup of your car, mostly wings, you can take it flat or not, but it's very scary. It's a turn that you have to get the apex very right, or you could be heading for the wall very quickly.
Yes, it's very reminiscent of, I'm trying to remember which rallycross circuit that is. Oh, I'll have to continue thinking about that as we go. But there are a few tracks that has those kind of turns, and it's one of those you don't want to turn in too early, because then you hit the inside barrier and then the outside barrier. And as you say, if you miss the apex, you run wide and you hit the outside barrier straight off instead. So very much a what you I suppose could call a driver's turn. And Thiago Canola now 8 seconds behind David Junt.
Yes, and 25 behind the leader, David Jacks, which means that
indeed, wow,
it would be possible for David Jacks to stop and not even lose his lead, at least to Thiago.
Very much so. Now actually 26 seconds since Thiago got slightly held up behind Raul Rayereb. No fault of Raul's, it's just the way the track goes. Some places you can let people by quite easily, and in others there's not really any room where you can actually go to let anyone by.
Yeah, as soon as you are into one of those quick turn combinations, it's very hard to let someone by. It's the safest thing to hold on and overtake when it's over.
Oh, someone was in the barriers just now. Oh, that's Jan Kowalski.
Oh, it's Kowalski.
Jan Kowalski's out. Wow. Let's see if we can possibly catch what happened.
Probably lost the car coming out of that turn.
Oh, we actually lost it on the entry. I think he must have notched the grass on the braking and going into the turn, and the rear end just got loose on him and never came back. That's really unfortunate. He was having a good race up until that point. And as Jason mentioned in the broadcast chat, it could be possible that those who have pitted early is actually running high boost on the cars, which I suppose is very much a possibility.
Yeah, but the difference isn't that big. And here is this is a track where you're not so much time. Oh, Matthew Leclerc now coming into the pits nearly took Canola. This is not a track where you are so long on under full throttle. I mean, this is not an oval. So I think that the boost doesn't make a huge difference here. I mean, you may be able to stretch things 1 or 2 laps more or 3 laps, but certainly not the big difference we have seen here in pit stops with Brandt pitting so early.
Indeed, and
David Jack certainly hasn't pit yet, and he's 32 laps into the race, and also he's doing very well. I mean, going way quicker than the cars behind.
Indeed. I mean, I was just sitting here on the trackside camera, just checking out the chicane, and we can see the massive. We could see the massive gap between Yates and the rest of the field. And then the cars stream by quite regularly, but that gap is massive. Actually, 30 seconds now to Thiago Canola. David is certainly flying. And he wants that championship.
Yeah, he's a very regular driver, so in this situation, the championship is his to lose.
Indeed, and I think if David wins this championship, that would be his first drivers' championship as such in a championship. I know he won the Gold Star.
No, he won the Formula 1 championship in 2017.
Oh yeah, he did. My apologies. My brain ain't quite working
his first IndyCar championship, that's for sure.
Indeed, and his second open wheel championship, so clearly showing he has quite a prowess.
73. Yeah. And the previous one was won by, the previous time we did IndyCar 88, that was won by Jakob Fredriksson.
Indeed, who did a very good job at being very consistent in his finishes. Just like both David and Thiago has been this season.
And the USAC 73 was won by Dana Shura.
Indeed, who herself also was very consistent.
Yeah, in both cases it was due to consistency mostly. Many wins, yes, very quick drives, but also very cool head. Because obviously in American racing at least, it's a matter of regularity.
Very
that
much
helps
so.
a lot.
That and being able to calculate what is coming up ahead of time, so to speak, so that you know that, okay, if we get a yellow within the next 10 laps, I need to pit, or if we get a yellow within the next 20 laps, I don't need to pit.
Yeah, it would be easy to say that everything is about luck with the yellows, no? And many times you see that, yes, certainly luck pans well for some and bad for others, but in the end of a season, it's always the same drivers who are at the top. The really regular, quality, good drivers, and those are the ones who win championships and are there in the last races for the fight.
Indeed, and one of those drives that I arc back to and remember was Alan Forst actually driving this Kmart-sponsored Newman Haas machine when we did this championship in R-Factor a couple of years ago. Round 1 at Phoenix, he pitted at almost every yellow, but in the end, I think he won by half a lap or something, simply because he had the fuel to go the whole distance.
Well, I finished second that race, and I was with a bit of damage in the car, and my main concern was to fend off Jason Fitch, who was right behind me with the Marlboro.
Yeah, that's true.
Lola from Emerson Fittipaldi.
Very much so. As we can see here, David Saber now into the pits on lap 36-37, so that's bang on the money for a free stop strategy.
Yeah, and David Jax is now about to go by the pit. Let's see if he goes for the pits or not. Now he goes for another lap.
Okay, so he wants to go to at least, I'd assume, lap 39 if he can. just so that he has a couple of laps extra in it if he needs to go a little bit quicker somewhere or at any point. And of course,
David Junt also does that. He passes on the pits, and Thiago Canola is now on that backstretch and is also going for another lap. So let's see what David Jacks does in the next one. And maybe that wasn't that good of a decision, because he's now in heavy traffic. He just overtook Matthew Leclerc and is behind Ray Riddle in this quick sweeping section.
well, the good thing for him is that he got by Mathieu before that sweeper, or those sweepers, so he didn't get held up. It looks
now
like
he
he's
moves to the right, so
Yep.
he seems to be going for the pits this time.
Yeah, I'd assume that's a very clear shows. Yep, it is. Here he comes into the pits on the end of lap 38. I believe that would equate to.
And there he goes to the first pit stop, the one that belongs to him due to having won the pole position.
As it looks like David Junt is going. No, he decides very late to head for the pits. I suppose if you're in second and you're not entirely sure, just do what the lead guy is doing.
Also in the pits now, where right now David Jacks is going out, and this means that he has been able to pit without losing the lead.
That is incredibly impressive.
Most laps led. If he continues at this rate, in lap 60... 56? 57 actually, he will have secured the most laps led position. Point.
And then all he needs to do, if you want to put it that way, is then win the race.
Yeah.
Not an easy task, but... Oh, and actually, David Junt drops back behind Thiago Canola after the pit stops. That's interesting. Yep. So let's see what David Junt can do.
Pressure on Thiago, but...
Ooh.
But now Thiago is also in a position of not having really anything to lose, because right now the championship belongs to Jacks. So I don't think that he will be making things any easy for David Junt. Ooh, and there he loses the car a bit between the aero effects and forcing it there. And well, he could very well have taken Thiago out.
Here he goes. I don't want to see a pass in here. Dear me, this will be a close one. Oh, dear me, wow, what a pass.
Well, it takes David Junt to do that pass and Thiago Canola to be able to cope with it. But there he greases the wall a bit. Not sure if there will be some damage.
That was so close to disaster for both of them. In that final turn. As you say, David Junt just raised the outside barriers a little bit, but looks like he's pulling away. And it looks like Thiago Canola's wheel is at least straight when he's going straight, so I don't think if there is any damage to his rear of the car, it's not so big as to cause him to have to crab along the straight, but maybe just messing up his feeling a little bit with the car.
Yeah, it could be one of the rear wheels that is a bit bent. Not sure, but... I think that his pace is not the normal one. I think that notch on the wall that he got early in the race must have probably affected his car.
It would certainly seem to be so. Mathieu Leclerc is into the pits. Looks like he may have been here for a little bit, so hopefully he'll be back out running very soon indeed. And with that action out of the way, at least at the moment with the field spread out, let's have a look at the trivia question for you for this evening. So what you, as the viewers, get to ponder for the remaining 70 laps is who won the Indy Lights race at Tamiami Park on 1st of October 1987. Was it A. Juan Manuel Fangio II, B. Guido Dacco, or C. Jeff Andretti?
Which was the B option?
Guido Dacco.
One interesting development of the race, right now Grant Ridal is in second position. Probably thanks to that weird pit stop strategy where he is out of sync with the other drivers. But he's momentarily at least in second position.
It could be that he is running on high boost and sprinting between the stops more than the others are doing, and doing 4 stops, and knowing Grant, it may be that he feels that's the quickest strategy for him, as he runs right out close to the barriers on the exit of the penultimate turn. It is absolutely wonderful to watch some of these drivers really using all the road and then some more. As I noticed, there's a wing in the road there. Not sure whose that is, but that was a red one. Could it be?
That's Brian Yannick.
It's Brian Yannick.
Rear wing now.
Oh dearie me, that's really unfortunate. Oh, that's a tricky one.
The pits, very likely. Now David Jack's slapping him.
Nicely done, Brian. Slow down in a straight line and.
Yeah, heavy situation there with no rear wing.
Really good job by Brian, and I haven't seen any other issues, so hopefully it's just a rear wing and the car will be hopefully more or less as good as new as he gets back out and running. As there we can see Jean Drion in the pits as well. I believe that's for his first stop, so he has gone a very long way.
And Grant Ridal is only 15 seconds behind David Jacks. I think he's getting closer. Been doing 59 the last lap. The case of David Jacks, that's been 1 minute 1, probably due to traffic.
Very much possible, and it could also be that David feels that he more or less just has to look after the car and the gap for now. But someone's in the barrier, someone heavily in the barrier. That's Raul Jereb, unfortunately. Oh, and he spins and goes off again. Oh, and Grant just barely squeezes by there. Really unfortunate for Raul Jereb. I saw him sitting just inside the top. Sorry?
That gives people more visibility, but luckily no accidents there.
That's really close. I don't think Raul Jereb realized he had lost his rear wing there. And unfortunately he's out as well, but yeah, really unfortunate. Oh, Ray Ridal is out as well. Whatever happened there?
Let's check. He was running behind Cesarius, coming to the main street.
Oh, ouch. I think it looks like he missed either his braking zone or his turning point and ran just a little bit too deep into the right-left combination towards the end of the lap. And sadly, the tire barriers were just a bit too far close to the track for him to be able to sneak past. And as we mentioned earlier, the barriers are very close by if you go to the grass. Unfortunately, but yeah, it looks like at least in the last couple of laps, David has more or less kept the distance constant between himself and Grant Ridal. Maybe that Grant is gaining a few tenths a lap.
Difference seems to be steady now that David Jacks is out of traffic.
Indeed. And it looks like the difference between Junt and Canola has more or less steadied up as well. And Brian Yannick back out to the pits, now in 11th, which will be 10th in about half a lap, as he goes by the unfortunate retirement point for Ray Riddle. Oh, as Brian nearly loses the car. Looks like his car is a little bit troublesome still after that wall contact. It could also be that Brian possibly nudged the grass. Looks like Grant was a little bit frustrated with how that lapping went, but it's as always something that comes and goes. Sometimes you have a bit of luck with traffic, sometimes you have a bit of bad luck with traffic. It's all part of being a race car driver, especially in these kind of races where traffic comes into play.
Yeah, this is a small track, so it's obviously traffic is obviously going to play a big role always.
Indeed, especially compared to tracks like Road America, for example, which has so much space for cars to be that it feels more like a surprise when you see someone you have to lap around that place compared to here.
Mm-hmm.
Jason White now up into 5th, so somewhat quiet race for himself, but staying consistent and out of trouble. Oh, don't tell me I jinxed him. Please don't tell me I jinxed him.
The broadcaster jinx. But okay, so far it doesn't seem to affect David Jacks, who has the championship in his pocket right now. So what's up with Jason Whited? The black?
Oh, looks like he's disconnected.
Oh,
really
no.
sorry. I'm really sorry, Jason. Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, that's the end of me talking about any driver doing well this evening. I'll just commentate on what's going on track.
So Cesarius is in the pits now. He entered very early for repairs, so was also a bit out of sync with other cars. Coming out now. No issues there for him.
Looks like he's gained a couple of positions, gone past Mathieu Leclerc and Bruno Chacon. So far a good recovery drive, and hopefully that'll continue for Cesarius. So that
And David Jacks has meanwhile increased his difference with Grant Ridal.
Yep, looks like David Yates is far quicker when the fuel gets burnt off a little bit. Certainly looks like Grant is trying, but getting closer to David is no easy feat. It looks like the top 4 is now on a lap of their own.
They are quite stable in their positions and there's a big gap. So fights have to be elsewhere.
Let's have a little bit of a look. Oh, Giadrio running a little bit wide there, being put a lap behind Richard Wilkes now. Actually 2 laps behind Richard Wilkes. So quite a few drivers running into troubles. It looks like Bruno Chacon is crabbing slightly, unless that was just a visual illusion.
David Jacks is now on the backstretch and about to go for the 53rd lap, which will mean he will automatically secure the extra point for most laps led. There he goes. That's another point in the bag.
Didn't you say 57th?
Should be. Oh, sorry. Yes.
So still a few more laps, and then he has that point in his bag.
Yeah, 57. Sorry, was
Getting a bit excited too early here.
yeah, getting a bit confused with that. I have so many notes here with points in championship and things.
It's one of those, if you took a picture, your whole desk would be covered in paper and notes and text, and no one would be any the wiser which note is actually for what thing. Kind of when at work, it's the sort of chaos theory.
So, let me see. Though Grant is now only 11 seconds behind David Jacks. So it seems that the difference went down by almost 5 seconds.
Interesting. I wonder if Grant got held up in traffic somewhere, or if he's struggling with the tires a little bit.
So it seems that David Jacks had been lapping very consistently, only slightly slower in the last lap. And Grant also, so I don't know where did that sudden drop in difference come from, because they were like 17 seconds apart a few laps ago. Oh, okay, now it has gone up to 18 again, so it must have been some issue with the timing. Yeah, they are 18 seconds apart, 18, 19.
Okay, then David is continuing to keep the distance to David Junt and Canola, and actually extending it slightly. Now 32 seconds to David Junt and 36 to Thiago Canola, so there's no other word for it than that David Yates is absolutely flying tonight. I think he has one more lap to do, right? And then he has that extra point.
Yeah, he's on the 56th lap now, about to complete it. And that would be also half race, obviously. So there goes lap 56. And even if he mathematically needs another lap, but I think it's quite obvious that nobody's going to be able to dispute him this most laps led.
Unless he runs into trouble somewhere. That's the one thing that can hinder him from taking that extra point. And he has a little bit of traffic to contend with on this lap, but Gerard has been very, very good on letting leaders by, as he does right there.
Yeah, that was about the worst part, to pick traffic, but Gerard made it easy for David, so he was very soon through. He's now on his way to pass. Oh, there he nets the wall a bit.
Oh dear. Possibly getting a little bit distracted by the car in front, maybe?
Maybe. Going now for turn 1. Matthew Leclerc makes room for him.
And David Yates now on a 160 points in the championship.
Yep.
If I remember correctly, I think it's 160.
Grant now 17 seconds behind, so not a threat at all for him.
And again, looks like David is more or less just controlling the race at the moment. I mean, he has 34 to 36 seconds to Thiago Canola, depending on where on track they are. And David Junt only 4 or 5 seconds up the road from Thiago. So, at least for the time being, unless there's trouble for David, everything is looking very good for him.
It does. If things end like this, he would be getting exactly the even number 200 points in the season and the championship with them.
I think Thiago slightly grazed the wall again as Schlapinski goes wide onto the grass right in front of him in turn 2. But it'll also be interesting to see how the field strategy works out if Grant is doing a 4-stop and possibly splashing at the end due to his early pit stop. And where he ends up after all the pit stops are done.
As things are now, David Jacks would finish the championship with 200 points and Thiago with 196.
Wow.
If Thiago gains another position because of Grant's pit stops, that would him with 198. So still 2 points less than David Jacks. And if David Junt was to abandon or be overtaken by Thiago, that would tie them both with 200 points. But on wins, David Jacks would still get the championship.
I'd assume because he has one more win.
Yes.
Incredible that it can be that close after 15 rounds.
And you have to count this one also.
Oh, of course, fair enough, but yeah. And here comes Grant Riddle into the pits on lap 60, so that's bang on 25 laps. I believe since his last pit stop, so looks like he's doing it in shorter stints. So I'd assume he will rejoin in second after his final stop, and then it's a question of how quick can the other runners go compared to him. As it looks like Cesarius is possibly into the pits for repairs again. I noticed he was sitting in the pits at least. Looks like he is indeed in for repairs, unfortunately.
I think he was in for a pit stop, but he probably did not disable repairs, and now it's 3,800 seconds, the expected time for the repair.
Well, I think it's the total time you've been on the server that shows something actually.
I don't know. It's a countdown there.
It's a count up.
Oh no, yeah, it's increasing. Yeah, you're right.
So
well,
I think that's more or less how long you've been in the server. That count up is saying. So I'd assume that's a repair of some kind. But I believe in AMS that you can you stop the repairs if it's.
It's still anyways quite a long time for Cesarius.
Yeah, of course it is. Certainly. So it looks like he may even lose his top 10 position because Mathieu Leclerc is coming around the penultimate turn now. That would be a great way for Mathieu to see out the season with a top 10 finish in his March Porsche. A car that has been a bit troublesome for both Mathieu and I believe Pascal drove that for a couple of rounds this season. It may have been someone else, but no, sorry, it wasn't Pascal, it was Bruno Chacon drove the Porsche for 2, 3, 4 rounds, something like that. And then,
Yeah, Pascal has been sharing the car with Jason Fitch.
So it was
Jason
Bruno Chacon was in the Porsche. And I believe that Porsche has been a bit of a troublesome child for both Bruno and Mathieu, but yet again, if Mathieu can get a top 10 finish here, I think he'll be very happy. Bruno Chacon currently sitting in 9th. That's a nice consistent drive from him so far. Haven't seen any major mistakes or issues for him, so hopefully he'll be able to continue that for the last half of the race. Brian Yannick, of course, we saw him make a bit of wall contact. Looks like he scraped the wall again there. You can see his rear wing still slightly mangled from some contact, but after repairs he's been doing a good recovery drive so far, and I believe he may be closing in on Gerard Rion as well, who's only a little bit further up the road, so this could be a fight for 7th and 8th in a lap or two.
David Jack's now coming to a bit of traffic. Yes, Richard Wilkes and David Sabre in front of him, who are on their own fight. Wilkes makes room for him.
So now we have 2 fights, just because there's fights going on track. You can never be entirely happy, can you? So we're always being closed in on by Yannick, and as you mentioned, Sabre and Wilkes are in a bit of a fight as well for 5th for a top 5 finish. It certainly looks like Brian has the speed on Gerard, but let's see if he can make his way past. Of course, as in all kinds of racing, catching up is one thing, passing is a completely different kind of beast. Well, that was a wheel, I think. Chacon is still running, so I wonder where that came from, but Brian runs a little bit deep in turn 1. Possibly looking for the comeback. There's a bit of a run. Oh, he actually goes up the inside. And there he goes, he takes 7th position away from Gerard Rion. Let's look a little bit further up the field, and here we have Richard Wilkes and David Sabre.
Yes,
Fight for 5th.
about to point that out myself. Wilkes is being close into David.
Sabre a little bit wide. Gets the car back in though.
Richard pushing it now, really. You see there some wheel spin coming out of the turns because he sees now that he can get closer to David Sabre, and the smell of the blood in the water is of course luring him.
For sure, knowing Richard, he certainly wants a top 5 finish to see out the championship. Richard has been thereabout. He's had quite a good pace at quite a few of the rounds, but not quite been able to make it. of someone
He has
getting out
scored
of the pits.
better at ovals than at road courses, contrary to what his specialty probably is. No, he's a very good oval racer, but I think that he tends to favor more the road courses.
It might just be down to the chassis of the car, I suppose. But the car also is a bit more in favor of road courses compared to ovals.
Well, in any case, here he is about to try to round things up with the top 5.
He's certainly trying hard. There was a big slide coming through the northern turn and really closing in. Let's see if he can possibly have a move on at turn 2. A bit too much understeer in the dirt, yeah, though. I wonder if Richard could possibly be trying to just keep up by this time and do a bit of tweaking on the wings and I believe the roll bars you can tweak a little bit as well and just try to make the car a little bit better in traffic, which it certainly looks like at the moment that the car is a bit of a handful sitting in behind David.
Point on the backstretch, where they are picking up to 170 mph here before braking. Which is quite crazy when you consider this is a park where usually there's just kids playing with their parents there in the grass.
Indeed.
Nearly there. Certainly close enough for... Oh, whoa, 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 whoa!
Wow. Did he actually manage to avoid
There was
the wall?
some drifting with an Indy car.
Did he actually avoid the wall?
I think he just barely touched it, but probably he got no damage from that.
If he did, it was a very, very small touch. That was a very close call indeed. That also proves how hard he's trying to get by, or up to and by David Saber.
Whoa, now it's
Whoa.
David Saber's turn. Yeah, he was probably starting to feel that pressure, was trying to put a lot of gas there coming out of the turn, and it spun under him.
Indeed, and that's also partly down to that engine. That's the Ilmo Chevrolet, of course. It was just a little bit sideways at the apex, and as he tried to squeeze the power on, the car just continued to go more and more sideways. But that engine is a little bit temperamental in terms of the power delivery. At least from the little bit of testing I've done in the car myself.
Yeah, it is. And in the Penske, it certainly also was. Penske is very fast, but also very delicate to drive, so it doesn't surprise me that in this case, even if the Lola T88, which is the same chassis for Richard Wells and David Saber, but in the case of Richard Wells, it has a Cosworth engine, so it doesn't surprise me in the case of David that he's having more problems controlling it. Everything is more violent with that Chevy engine.
Certainly, it's one of those when you have to wait to put the power on, but when you put the power on, you're sucked into the seat.
So the leader is now on his 72nd lap. Flying around undisturbed. David jumped 34 seconds behind him. Thiago Canola is a further 9 seconds. 10 seconds actually behind David Jump now. And it's Grant Ridal who is now closing a bit on Thiago, still also 10 seconds behind, but on that offset strategy that he is following, then he is obviously much quicker on track right now. Difference is now down to 9 seconds, so it's changing quickly.
It was also Thiago having to go by a slower car, but it certainly seems that Grant is quicker than Thiago. Be that down to the car, or possibly a little bit of damage, or
the different strategy, because Grant is stopping a lot. He's probably melting the tires, pushing the car, and also on a lower fuel load. So while on track, he will certainly be quicker.
Someone is in the pits. Let's see if we can possibly make out who that is. I saw a name tag in the pits. That's Mathieu Leclerc into the pits. I think that's more or less on time for his strategy, unless I'm mistaken. So he now drops back into 11th for the time being. Oh, and Canola, I think, was wide at turn 1 again, grazing the wall. Looks like the race is unraveling for Brazilian-American. Yeah, just runs a little bit too wide and actually makes quite some contact with that wall. And drops a couple of seconds to Grant right there. Now down to 6 seconds.
Yeah, and with Grant flying like that, he will be on Canola's toes very quickly. So the difference is now 7 seconds, nearly 8. But going to the start-finish line is 6 seconds, so 6 and something. It varies along the track, obviously, depending on the sector they're in.
And I noticed that depending on how good Grant's eyesight is, he can actually see Canola going down the back straight to the last turn of the track, as they are right now. So if anything, I think that should be a catalyst for Grant going even quicker.
Yeah, it's a good motivator, certainly.
As he's using all the track and then a little bit of grass as well to pick out the quickest line. As Thiago's into the pits. Thiago's into the pits. See, that's 30. 3 plus 34.
I think this time he came in a bit earlier than before.
I reckon so as well. Maybe he picked up a bit too much damage and felt he needs some new tires. Because it looks like he's back there now. So.
Yeah, and it should be enough to finish the race like this, because he's on lap 77.
Are you sure? That's 45 laps, isn't it?
That's let me see, 24. No, that's 35 laps actually.
Sorry, my fault. Okay, well, yeah, that should be enough.
A bit tight, but doable.
Should we do the double lead? I mean, David Yates did 38, 39 laps on his first stint, so it's certainly possible. It's more a question of can he make that work. As David Junt is now into the pits as well, possibly trying to cover off Thiago Canola. As Canola is out on track and going past him, so he has about a second advantage on David Junt at the moment, again after the pit stops.
Well, that seemed to work for Thiago, because he has been able to overtake David Junt on the pit, and he's now in front of him with just 1 lap difference of fuel worth. But this is nothing, because both of them are going to finish the race on this tank, so in tires. David now on cold tires when coming out of the pits, whereas Thiago Canola has already warm tires, but it doesn't seem to be hampering David Junt a lot.
David Junt does endurance races, so I think he's fairly used to used tires. So he's up the inside again. Oh, Thiago cuts him off. Doesn't want him up the inside here this time.
Going for the inside there.
Oh dear. All sideways, both of them sliding through the final turn. And there's a left car up ahead.
Well, Thiago knows the importance of being in front of David Junt.
For sure.
I mean, I don't really know what the maths are in his mind right now. Obviously, even if he finishes second, in this case David Jacks as champion, but it's obviously his duty to do the utmost he can.
Indeed, and I mean, if he's second, he's the first one to take advantage if David runs into trouble. So I think that
unless David is able to make the pass in the next laps, he will probably be falling behind a bit.
Possibly, but looks like Canola is up to speed now, but obviously David has been a little bit quicker on the stint so far, so it'll be interesting to see. Oh, Canola wide, David looking at... looked up the inside, couldn't quite get up there. I think it was a good thing David backed up to that.
He's letting David know that just because he sees a small gap doesn't mean that he's going to be able to go through there. I mean, at this point, Thiago has also nothing to lose.
Indeed. Looks like David's move will have to be very decisive once he pulls it off. And I think at the end of this right-left combination is where David could look for the move. He's right up behind him now, really close, and drops back a little bit too far, I think. But if he gets a run for that, I think that's his by far best opportunity to make it. Here he goes, he has a little bit of a run, but not early enough.
No, he was just trying to make Thiago get distracted and maybe miss the apex or something like that. Thiago this time secures well the braking, so that he blocks David well behind him.
Right up behind him there.
Yeah, David's getting a bit too anxious with this.
I suppose it's down to him noticing that they are dropping time to Grant, and if Grant gets too far ahead, he'll be able to do that last pit stop and still get out in front of both of them.
Yes, Grant is doing pit stops for 20-something lap stints. So in probably in 8 or 10 laps more, he will be doing his final pit stop.
Been on lap 70.
Yeah, 70
75, I think.
Yeah, that will take him to 90 something. And you see, as I was expecting, if David didn't make the pass early when coming out of the pits, it was going to become
a little
way
bit too
more
deep.
difficult for him.
So we'll see what happens. Looks like David has a bit of dirty tires there. Trying to get back up to speed, drops about a second.
Bit of breathing room for Thiago there.
I think it's thankful breathing room. Just trying to just get the opportunity to maybe settle into this stint now and try to open a bit more of a gap. Well, David looks really quick in the fast sweeping turns. He's pulled half a second in the last few turns. Down a little bit wide there. Just been racing the wall a little bit, but still close as in. Jontan's back up right behind Thiago, so David definitely seems to be the quick one of the two, but again, can he actually make the move stick?
Certainly Thiago is doing a brilliant defense of his position.
For sure. David with a great exit though. That's a fantastic exit. Thiago goes towards the inside to cover him off. David trying to go around outside. Right side by side. Ooh, Thiago. Ooh. Really close to being a bit too deep into the final turn, but he is able to hold on for now. Some great racing between these two.
And let's see. Is Grant? Okay, he's still there.
I think the pit stop around here is about 32 to 35 seconds, so he is closing in on that magic time difference, but
he will actually come out of the pits right behind these two, so it could be very hairy in the end.
Depends on if he can open up another 5 to 7 seconds. Oh, as Thiago missed a gear! Thiago missed a gear! That leads to the contact. Looks like, I think Thiago hit the wall. Let's hope there's no major damage. But David very sportingly decides to drop back after that. I wouldn't say that was the fault. That was the fault of David Jonatan. It was Thiago missing a gear. That's immediate slowdown with David right behind him. Yeah, that's one of those things. Hopefully Thiago has no major damage and can keep on going here. But so far the battle has been brilliant. David really twitching the car now. Really close behind. Again looking for the run out of the penultimate turn. White is going to run this time as he had a couple of laps ago. Looks like Grant is on a bit of time.
Yeah, that incident gave him a bit of time, but
David a bit loose on the apex of the first turn. Oh, and David touches the grass on the engine to 3, but holds it very nicely deep. Great save. Only drops about half a second. These two are really going at it here. Absolutely brilliant to watch.
and Grant goes for another lap. Here's now Thiago 29 seconds behind him. And Thiago's shadow, which is David Jonatan, also 29 seconds. It will be interesting to see what happens when Grant comes out of the pits. Because he will be right behind these two, and he will be...
Oh, whoa, David Saber! David Saber does what I mentioned earlier. You don't want to turn in too early because then you hit the inside barriers, and it looks like that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, the leaders were coming, and he was obviously a bit distracted, was worried about making room.
The flashing setup was a great save by David Saber. Good job on Thiago's and David's part to read where he would end up.
Another lap for Grant Riddle, and as I was saying, this will be quite an interesting end of the race because Grant will obviously have the same fuel as the cars in front. They all will have just the fuel needed to end the race, but Grant will be on much better tires, be completely new. So it will be interesting to see what happens there, because Grant's strategy may very well be able to fail. Big time.
Very scary for him, but yeah, that's definitely true. I think David ideally would want to get ahead of Thiago before that, because if Grant, as you say, comes out behind him, it'll be a three-way scrap and possibly Thiago be able to pull away.
David is now, I think, taking things a bit easier. He's something, it's a very patient guy. He knows how to put pressure on the car in front and either wait for the error or the opportunity.
Indeed. I honestly think the opportunity will come into this turn at some point, because he's so quick through that right left before that. When Thiago actually feels he needs to go defensive here, David with a slightly wider entry, but not able to keep the speed up. Thiago holds on yet again going into turn 1.
I think that David does that just in case he manages to force Thiago into an error when going into that very quick turn. If you don't come from the very open position that is the natural way of taking that turn, it could happen to you what happened to David Saber. You could simply not have enough leverage to do the full turn. So maybe that's what David is seeking to do.
Indeed, David with a great run here, he could have an opportunity. Not quite.
Another lap for Grant, meanwhile, by the way.
Okay.
So he will be loading very little fuel, and he's already 31 seconds in front of his boat.
I think he'll actually very soon be
really hot when he comes out of the pits.
Indeed. David a little bit late in returning that, but able to hold on.
No issues for Canola this time in this one.
Actually for David instead, actually makes a little bit contact with the outside barriers.
Now thinking that David Jacks is already 59 seconds in front, and considering the length of a lap time here, he should actually be right behind these two.
Let's actually have a look where he is on track. Yeah, he is. He's entering the chicane now.
Yeah, he's behind them.
Yeah.
He's just 4 or 5 seconds behind the other cars.
Yeah, it's
Grant
absolutely
Riddle just for
incredible.
another lap, 90 laps, so he will be doing just the top and splash if he enters the pits, which he probably will be doing.
I think David is good to go, but here comes David, he's looking up the inside again, decides to back out of it. Oh, he actually makes a little bit of contact with the inside barriers.
Thiago was very confident there that David didn't have enough room and didn't even bother changing lanes or blocking him.
It's good to see that the respect between these two is well up there. They're both racing hard, but incredibly fair. Now we get a little bit loose on the entry to turn 3, but again holds on very nicely. This is certainly the battle of the race for me, and at the moment I don't think anyone is, possibly Slapinski and Chacon, very close to one another, but other than those guys, I think this is by far the closest battle on the track. And it looks like Thiago is very close to needing to go into the pits. He at least has the pit mark on his
Yeah, but that's automatic, I think, in the car, depending on the strategy. No, I don't think it should be stopping anymore.
I don't think either, but I mean, you'll see through a stage that right
Yeah, the one that we are expecting to beat is Grand Vidal. Though he's continuing to do laps now. He's only 20 laps away from the
David with
finish.
Sorry about that. I thought David would go up the inside in what is that, turn 10, turn 9, but decided to back out of it. If you look in the background, that's David Yates going through the penultimate turn.
Yep, that's him. He can already see the third and fourth qualifier. And he's rival to the championship. I mean, that would be a way to end lapping your rival.
For sure.
Though Thiago has done a brilliant defense so far of his lead, one must say, because he's driving an inferior car and a car that also is a bit damaged by now.
Indeed, but I think pretty much everyone will have some kind of battle scouts in their class at this point of the race. But as you say, it's definitely one of the most impressive drives I've seen. And, it's been a great championship battle between David and Thiago, especially David, also within a mid-season charge to try and get up to that race.
Well, I guess Thiago is right now driving a year-old car when compared with David John. And doing that defense against someone like David John, that's absolutely brilliant.
For sure. Both of them getting so close to the outside barriers, but both of them staying off them. They are using all of the road, and it's just incredible to watch this. What a fight. And David with a great run for there. Let's see if he tries to open up the exit here. Only made, I thought he would walk up the inside there. Who is that? He has a bit of a run here instead. Surely not into the speed burst. No, he doesn't. Oh, he's so... Wow! What a save again! That was so incredibly close to ending up on the barriers.
Yeah, though that we deprived him of the ability to try to make an overtake here, because he's too far behind. Both coming now to Richard Wicks. Both move there from Richard Wilkes and David coming now. Oh, he's looking there to the inside, but not enough room.
Looks like David Yates has decided to slow down a little bit. He's looking after the car now.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense for him to try to overtake here. I mean, when you have that much of an advantage and are seeing your main championship rival there in front of you, the only thing you really have to do is to follow along. Whoa, heavy situation now. Let's see, Matthew Leclerc would move there.
Nice.
And Grant hasn't stopped yet, which is quite amazing. 95 laps there.
If he's stopping every 25, then that would make him right because now David with a bit of a run, who I thought he was thinking about going up the inside and chicane again. Thiago deep.
Yes, and Grant
David for the cutback. Who can't quite get the power down. He stays behind for now.
And keep your eye on Grant because he's now in the pits.
He's in the
He
pits
just
now,
stopped
wow.
in his pit box.
So this will be a splash. Let's see where he comes out in relation to these two.
Already on the move.
Wow, we have a 10-second advantage. At least.
It was quicker. Yeah, that's because the pit stop was so quick. And well, there's obviously no way they are going to catch him now on fresh tires.
No, not unless he runs into trouble. David with a 40-second lead at the front. That is
So now for
absolutely
this group, it's the last podium position at stake, which is, I think, motivating enough.
for sure, for sure. Just a bit of time to understand it, but still right behind. Thiago will close. Both of them still running so incredibly well, so fast. Now with a fantastic run, let's see if he goes up inside here. He's looking for it. Oh, not quite able to get there. Was so close to be able to go for the move. There got close to try and show that he wasn't going to let him go up the inside. David decided that okay, we'll wait a little bit longer. As Finch tries to get out of the way, doesn't make nice with that. David definitely putting Thiago under massive pressure now. Thiago's so slow from these corners now. He must be struggling with car tire or both. And David having a think about it again into this after turn. He has a bit of a run, right able to make it work there. See if he gets a run. Stop again, he doesn't. See if he can get a cut back in possibly. Certainly looking for it. Not quite able to get close enough. Thiago a little bit deep on the brakes, but David not able to get up there.
If you didn't know what's going on, you would think that they are tied with an invisible line. So close they are. No, Thiago got that very well covered. Brilliant defending by Thiago.
Indeed. Being able to stay cool under this amount of pressure is incredible. Again, just slightly parking the buses in that chicane. That stops David from having a proper go again. Let's see if David has a good run again through this sweeping rights and lefts. He does. Looks up the outside. Oh, surely not around outside here. Oh, it's so close. Wow. Again, Alberto trying to set Thiago. Now putting himself in every mirror that Thiago has. Trying to exit. Missed the gear. David had a great exit and missed the gear slightly. That's enough to have him brought back a car length and a half. David really pushing the car through that right and left. He has a good run here. Almost has to overlap. Oh, and Thiago missed the gear. Is up into third place. With Thiago really attacking into the first turn, actually nudges David in the rear, but David holds moves on to third position, and I think that's probably because of the position done now with 10 laps to go.
Yeah, he had been, well, putting a shape to Thiago, and in the end it paid off. This is the second time that Thiago misses a gear, and with David so close, it was impossible to do anything against it.
And unfortunately, I also noticed
It's a bit sad, a bit anticlimactic after such a good season if he loses the podium with 10 laps to go, but that's racing.
Indeed, it was a great fight, it has to be said, so either way I think they both will have enjoyed that one. Let's have a quick look through the remaining runners in this field. I noticed Cesariusz Ślepinski unfortunately has retired in the last few laps. Didn't quite see what happened, but I noticed he was up into the top 9 at the time of his retirement. But in the lead by a massive margin, now 43 seconds, because David is looking after the car for the remaining 10 laps, now 8 laps of the race. Second is Grant Riddle with a alternative fuel strategy and making that work very well for himself. A further 9 seconds behind is David Jung, now in third after having passed Thierry Canola, who's in fourth just a lap ago. Richard Wilkes currently running fifth after having run a little bit deep. Looks like he may even have a bit of damage on the car at the moment. Could again be a visual illusion. But he is running fifth, 15-16 seconds ahead of David Saber, who's in sixth. Seventh is Brian Yannick, a great recovery drive from him after his off in this turn earlier in the race. Gerard Riot currently running 8th, with Bruno Chacon in 9th. Unfortunately a retirement for Ślepinski, so in a few laps time Mathieu Leclerc ought to be into the top 10, which I think he'll be very happy with. And into 11th in another few laps is Jason Fitch. I think he'll be fairly happy with 11th on a road course. He is also one of our drivers who I reckon prefer oval racing over road courses. And he is currently our last runner. And it certainly looks like the battle for third and fourth is more or less decided, unless David makes a mistake, because he's continually increasing the gap to Thiago little by little.
Oh, watch David Yax, he had just an out-track excursion.
Oh dear me. See what happened here?
Yeah, fortunately he came well out of it, but
oh dear.
that must have made him a bit nervous. Almost throw it all there, because had he hit the wall, everything would have been over for him.
Dear me, that's him running just a little bit too wide on the entry, notching the grass. Just like David did earlier, he has a bit of a moment. If he was about to fall asleep, that surely will have awoken him again. Getting that close to disaster. And he's actually running with that mistake 4 seconds off his ultimate pace, 3.5 seconds off his ultimate pace.
Now, after having done everything right, it's about driving it home, not getting into trouble.
So go ahead. And Mathieu Leclerc very nicely pulling right off to the side of the road to let David Yates past. And it looks like Leclerc is now up into the top 10. So unless he has any further mishaps, he ought to finish in the top 10. And it will be a great way for him to see off the championship with that troublesome Porsche.
David Jack's about to complete his 108th lap now. 4 to go. Well, actually, he's in the 109 lap now, as Automobilista counts them. So it's this lap and 3 more. I mean, now I get there's a pitch. Back switch. I think in the next lap he will be getting the white flag.
I think it's 3, so that's it. So it's completed the whole 9 laps. That's it.
Even so, touch the grass slightly there. Oh! This guy is making us really suffer. That must have made him skip a heartbeat. Yeah, because at this point it did not finish, obviously would hand the championship to Thiago.
Indeed. So going through the final turn, David Yates crosses the finish line to start his final lap and the final lap of this championship.
White flag here for him. 41 seconds in the lead. To take it easy.
He doesn't even need to get by Bruno Chacon here, but Bruno goes well out of his way to let David Yates past. Into the chicane we go. Half a lap to go. For David Yates to end off a dominating drive here tonight and to do everything right, taking pole position, most led laps. I don't think he dropped a single lap in terms of laps led. One final
Yeah, it
turn.
will be all laps led instead of most.
Indeed. So one final turn to go, and I think he could even coast from here. Even if he hits the wall, he'll be good to go. Across the finish line he goes, and there we have him, the champion of the Kart 1988 Championship of 2019 here at HSO. David Yates with an absolutely dominant drive here tonight. Absolutely brilliant.
And Grant Riddle still in the back section with a strategy that paid off very, very well.
Very much
Coming
so.
now also to take the checkered flag.
Yep, one final turn
And it's
left
also
for
good
him.
to see him finishing the race because Grant's pace is out of any doubt, but he hasn't been lucky with the finishing in these last races.
Indeed, and here comes David Junt, who offered us some great battles as well along the way, and takes the final podium finish. And here comes Thiago Canola. I think he will be slightly disappointed to have lost the championship in the final round, but hopefully that battle with David Junt will have made up a little bit for that at least. The remaining finishes and positions for our drivers was Richard Wilkes in 5th, David Sabre in 6th, 7th for Brian Yannick, 8th for Gerard Rion, 9th for Bruno Chacon, 10th for Mathieu Leclerc. So finally a top 10 finish for Mathieu. I think he may have had one more of those earlier in the championship. And our final runner finishing is Jason Fitch, who's had a bit of a mishap on the cooling down lap. But wow, here is David Yates doing a bit of some donutting. And promptly it looks like has blown his engine, but no problem for him. He is our Kart 88 champion. His Grant is there as well, doing a few donuts. I think he's very happy to have finished the race and to have finished it on the podium as well. So while we wait for our drivers to join us for a post-race chat, let's have a quick look at the trivia question that we had for you this evening. And if we still haven't been joined by drivers, then we'll also have a look at what's coming up. But the trivia question, of course, was who won the Indy Lights race at Tamiami Park on 1st of November 1987? Was it A, Juan Manuel Fangio II, B, Guido Dacco, or C, E.F. Andretti? And I do remember that Berlin answered C, I'm fairly sure. Do you have any guesses on this one, Alberto?
I don't know. Maybe Jeff Andretti also? Just thinking of someone who made it into kart shortly after, because Juan Manuel Fangio II, he was, I think by the time, driving Group C cars in the IMSA, and it was only later in '98 that he was, I remember him in kart. So, give us the answer.
Well, the answer for the trivia question is E.F. Andretti. So both Berlin and Alberto is correct. Well done.
Well, I have to run now. It has been a pleasure to broadcast with you this season in the races where I did not race. And let's hope that next year we have also very, very nice season of racing. We will be there over at ISO, our team. We will be broadcasting there. We will be also turning left and also turning left and right in the other championship. So I hope we will see you all back there. Bye bye.
Thank you very much, Alberto, and thank you for joining me, and really looking forward to
user disconnected from your channel
next year, both at HSO and ISO. But yeah, we still haven't been joined by any drivers, so let's have a quick look at what's coming up at HSO. We have next weekend the final 2 rounds of the
user joined your channel
of the British Formula 3 Championship 1973 edition, runs 13 and 14, which, if I remember, are around Monaco and Brands Hatch, I think. And the Wednesday following that final round, we have the final round, the 22 Arak Bilstein Super Sprint, the STW 1995 Championship, which will be taking place around the Nürburgring, the shorter GP layout. Second time we're visiting that, and there are, if I don't remember incorrectly, 14 drivers in with a shot at taking third in the overall standings in that championship. But with that being said, we have been joined by David Junt, who scored a third position finish in the race, and you gave us one of the battles of the race. That looked like a really close race between you and Thiago Canola after the final stop.
It should have been a close race with Grant, because I think I kinda could bite his pace on the stop against 2, and he never was far enough. I had 2 mistakes. Were that in the first mid stop I noticed too late that I was very tight in fuel, so I decided to come in. Hadn't called my pits, and then I went in at like the speed limit that was shown, which was not in it was not active, so I messed up and lost time. And on the second stint, when I finally not how to go in fast, I forgot how close mine was, overshot and had to reverse 2-3 times, which was really stupid. So yeah, I lost so much time Grant there, and then I was just held up behind Thiago. I'm quite sure that like after 3-4 laps and after the start, he lost the car, opened up, and I'm quite sure he hit the barrier. So I think he had a damaged car, and that's why he was so much slower in the infield. And I know he's in a title fight. I want to beat Grant in the race. I want second from Grant because I was ahead of him. So I was not really having blocked so long, and then nearly crumbled into the wall. And when he once defended on the straight, he came over and then he shifted, which immediately made me run into his back, which was not very clever, I thought. And when I saw the pace difference, that Grant was just going away in the way, I thought like, yeah, that's me done. Once I was passed somehow, I tried my best lap up to date, but it was just not enough to press Grant in any way. So it was third in the end. But yeah, it wasn't a bad race, but nobody could really beat David today. He killed out that one lap and qualifying, and then in the start of the race he just flew away from us. So yeah, gotta hand it to David. There was a really great pace by him.
Talking about the devil, we have been joined by David Yates and Thiago Canola, so our championship protagonist for this final round. Congratulations, David, and condolences, Thiago. I suppose we'll go with Thiago first. And looked like you had some decent pace, but not quite enough pace to challenge David.
I did what I could do with the equipment I had, and that was the fastest I could go. I don't know yet how I got the second place in the qualify. It was a miracle to me, I guess. This car you can push for a single lap, but during the race it's impossible to keep the pace. I was 1 second slower the whole race. I knew I couldn't do anything, just waiting. Maybe Jakes could have an issue, with lapping cars, and it was my only hope.
That's an unfortunate situation to be in, but as I was talking with David about, you and David had a very close fight for third and fourth there. I'd assume, despite the closeness of that, it was quite enjoyable.
Yeah, I was holding him up. He's much faster than me. I tried to kill his exits, because his exits was so much better than mine. So he couldn't get enough speed to overtake me in the straight line. Yeah, I was trying everything I could to keep him behind me, and I knew at some point he would take the position.
Okay. Well, despite finishing second in the championship, I'd assume you're very happy with the championship overall, and I hope we'll see you back next year for ISO or HSO both racing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. By the way, I'll be working in Japan for 6 months, and probably I'll be racing like 3 a.m. there.
Well, that's a tough proposition, but I hope we'll see you even when you're working in Japan during those 6 months. And again, condolences, but also congratulations on a championship well driven.
Thank you, Jonatan.
And of course, we have our championship winner, David Jakes, here with us. Congratulations, David. Looked quite simple, but I'd assume it was nowhere near as simple as it looked to take that dominant win here tonight.
Well, thank you very much. First, I gotta say, Thiago was a great championship. He's got the consistency over all of us. He finished every race in the points. I don't think anybody else did that, or if they did, that's a special thing in its own. So, and then to have a championship of 15 races come down to as close as it was, and him even handicapped with a different car at the end, really good on his part. My race was I just had my head down. I knew what I had to do. I had to assume that Thiago was going to get second because he's been able to do it in the last couple races.
Yeah.
So I had to get the bonus points and try to stay out front. So it was mostly a challenge with myself. Like twice there during stint 2 and once during stint 3, I had a real bad cramp up, so I had to just try to limp through. But luckily enough, I had a little bit of a gap and I could take care of that. But great year, great season. Thanks for the championship. Thanks for all the broadcasts. Thank you to everybody at HSO and ISO. Looking forward to next year. Can't wait.
Sounds good. And yeah, looking at the championship as a whole, it's been absolutely brilliant. We have some great fights, and of course, as you say, the championship has been really close. Early half of the championship, I'd say, was Thiago's, and then you've been working your way to get back there, David. Managed to pivot at the very end, so congratulations once again on taking the championship, and thank you to all our participants in this championship, and all our drivers overall for putting on a great year. And we still have a couple of championships to finish off. Of course, the F3 and STW. But yeah, I hope you all will have a great week, and we'll be back live again next Sunday with the Formula 3 Championship, which I believe will be the final live broadcast we'll have at HSO to see off the year. So until then, take care and have a great week. Good night, everyone.